Ever wish you could just like conjure up the perfect image? You know, like if you're trying to imagine a logo or a book cover, what if you could just like tell an AI to do it?
Yeah. It's not really daydreaming anymore. That's kind of where this whole AI image generation thing is going.
And this is something that like synthetic work has been all over, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They're calling this new development a total game changer.
Okay, so for those of us who don't speak fluent AI, what is this game changer?
It's a new AI model called FLUX,
FLUX. Okay.
okay? And it's actually developed by some of the same people who are behind Stable Diffusion.
Yeah.
But this time they're really trying to push the boundaries of what open access AI can do.
Okay, so before we get too far, remind me what open access means in this context. Why should like someone like me who's more on the creative side even care about that part of it?
Yeah, so basically it means that FLUX isn't trapped inside of some big tech companies like walled garden.
Okay.
You can download it, you can install it on your own servers,
Oh, wow.
potentially even build a whole image generation service out of it for your business without having to answer to anybody.
So it's like having an in-house Midjourney, but without having to pay through the nose for every image.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Especially if you're concerned at all about data privacy or owning your own creative assets, it's definitely the way to go.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. So a lot of open access tools, they've been good, but not like blow your mind good, especially when you compare them to some of the bigger names. Can FLUX actually compete on that level?
That's what synthetic work wanted to know. So they actually put FLUX through a few challenges
Mm-hmm.
to see how it stacked up against everything else.
Right.
And the results were pretty eye-opening, to say the least.
Okay. What was the first challenge?
So they called this one the Seventh Seal Challenge.
Seventh seal. Okay.
And if you've seen the movie, you know it's a pretty bold move.
Yeah.
The goal was to have FLUX recreate that really iconic scene where the knight is playing chess against death.
Hold on. That scene with the lighting and the costumes and Death's face painted white, that's not an easy thing to just like whip up.
No, and that's the whole point, right?
Hmm?
They wanted to pick a scene that other AI models would have really struggled with. They actually showed an older attempt from Stable Diffusion, and it just looked like a bad Halloween costume party, to be honest.
Stable diffusion eliminated. What about FLUX? Did it manage to pull off this miracle?
So they gave FLUX a text prompt, no reference images,
Yeah.
and well, you kind of have to see it to believe it.
Wait, are you telling me it actually?
Nailed it. The composition, the lighting, even like the expressions on the characters' faces, it's like a still from the movie.
Gasp. No way. And earlier models couldn't even get Death's face right. Color me impressed. Okay, but how? How did it do that?
It all comes down to how FLUX is able to understand these really complex prompts. Like previous models would kind of get hung up on just keywords, but FLUX actually seems to get the relationship between the words and like the nuances of what you're actually asking for.
So it's not just like matching keywords anymore. It's like actually understanding the whole like picture that you're trying to paint with words.
Exactly. And this is just the beginning of what makes FLUX so exciting. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, remember they put it through a second challenge.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And this one's less about historical accuracy and more about, we just imagine like trying to do a photo shoot of Medusa for like a high fashion magazine or something.
Hold on that, Medusa. First of all, I'm already picturing a logistical nightmare with the whole hair full of snakes thing.
Right. And then you've got the challenge of capturing that like mythical kind of intimidating aura while still making it work as a fashion image.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot to ask even from a human artist.
Yeah, and I bet the previous AI models just ended up spitting out something completely chaotic, like just a bunch of snakes and scales.
Pretty much. Synthetic work actually included an example using, I think it was an older version of Stable Diffusion. And yeah, it's not winning any design awards, let's put it that way. But with FLUX,
Yeah.
they managed to create something really remarkable.
Okay, you have to show me this. What did they come up with?
Just take a look at this image. It's not just snakes on a head, it's like art.
Oh, wow.
The way that they captured the texture of the snakes, the lighting, even just the expression on her face, it's like beautiful and unnerving at the same time. It's exactly how you'd imagine Medusa.
You know, it's one thing to like hear about this stuff, but actually seeing the images really like, I don't know, it really drives home just how much of a game changer this is. It's like AI suddenly has an artistic eye. You know what I mean? It's not just like technically skilled anymore.
Yeah, and what really struck me was that they mentioned FLUX achieved this level of realism using something called FLUX realism laws, along with a higher step count.
Okay, I am not a tech whiz, so break that down for me. What does that even mean?
So basically think of Lorai like a special filter that you would use. But instead of just like changing colors, It injects this extra layer of realism into the image.
Okay.
And the higher step count essentially gives the AI more time to really refine the details, to really kind of perfect that final result.
So it's like giving an artist better tools, but also the time to actually use them.
Exactly. And that level of control, that ability to fine-tune the process and get those really nuanced results is something we haven't really seen before, especially with open access models.
Okay, but let's talk practicality for a second. So you mentioned this newsletter is all about AI and the creative industries. So what does all this mean for the average artist, designer, photographer out there? I mean, is everyone going to be out of a job?
That's the million-dollar question, right? But instead of thinking about it like robots are taking over, what if we looked at it as like a fundamental shift in how we create?
A fundamental shift, huh? Okay, so less about robots taking our jobs and more about
Yeah.
what? What's the more optimistic take?
Think of it this way. What if instead of spending hours or days or even weeks on like the technical part of creating something, what if you could just tell the AI what you wanted and it could handle all that for you?
So it's like having a whole army of like digital assistants who are working tirelessly to bring your vision to life.
Exactly. But not just any assistants, right? These are assistants who are constantly learning and getting better with every single image. And because FLUX is open access, it means that power isn't limited to just a select few people.
Yeah, that's true. That's a really powerful idea. But there's still this thing where people think that open access AI, it might be technically impressive, but it doesn't have the artistry of the big players, like a Midjourney. Like, it's good for making a product shot, but not for something truly unique.
Right. And that's where things get really interesting. Because
Mhm.
synthetic work, they didn't just put FLUX through all these technical challenges. They wanted to show off the creative potential too.
Okay.
And honestly,
Yeah.
the images they shared, breathtaking.
Really? So we're talking like on par with what you'd see from like actual artists using the paid tools?
And then some. I mean, we're talking like these evocative landscapes and abstract art that would fit right in at a gallery. Even these photorealistic portraits that were just full of emotion and detail. It's obvious that FLUX isn't just like mimicking what it's seen before, it's actually generating something new.
Okay, you've officially got me interested. This is way more than just churning out content at this point. It feels like there's a whole new way to express yourself creatively right around the corner.
And we haven't even gotten to the most exciting part. Remember how we were talking about FLUS being open access?
Yeah.
Well, the newsletter also talks about this tool called AP Workflow. And this thing basically unlocks a whole other level of control and customization.
Okay, break that down for me. What is AP workflow and how does it take FLUX to that next level?
Okay. Imagine if you could use all of the power of FLUX, right? But you don't need to know how to code or use complicated software.
Okay, yeah.
You can do it all through something like Discord.
Oh, wow.
You just type a command, maybe adjust a few settings, and bam, FLUX gets to work. It starts generating these images right there on your server.
So it's like having this incredibly powerful AI at your command, but you don't need to be a computer whiz to use it.
Exactly.
It's incredible.
And it gets even better. Remember those specialized versions of FLUX we talked about, like the AP models?
Yeah.
Those are designed for specific industries, like if you're doing fashion or automotive design.
Wow.
So you're not just working with a general AI, it's fine-tuned for your specific needs.
So with all this power becoming available to everyone, with AI doing so much of the technical stuff, what does that actually mean for the future of creativity? What will we do?
That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's both really exciting and a bit of a mystery. I think we could see completely new art forms pop up, new ways of telling stories, even just new ways of interacting with the world around us.
It's almost like AI is giving us this like incredible gift, this blank canvas, and we get to see what we can create.
Exactly, and that's what's so inspiring about this whole thing. It's not about humans versus machines. It's about the partnership and seeing where it goes from here.
So to wrap things up for our listeners, what's the one thing you want them to remember about FLUX and the future of AI image generation?
This is just the start. And it's easy to focus on all the technical stuff, but the real magic happens when we use our imaginations. What will you create?
The possibilities are pretty much endless. And that's it for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.